Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's delegating, broadcasting, orchestrating, developing, or anything to do with the Livepeer ecosystem. We're here to ask questions and get answers. So I'll start off real quick with the first topic around the Livepeer Innovators DAO. So real quick, I believe we do have a new member vote in progress for MZ. If you are in the DAO, please head over and cast your vote. I also just by default changed the voting structure to be anonymous while the vote is happening. I think this is good for not only new member votes, but also when we do voting for the actual like winners or recipients of the funds. I think having an kind of anonymity while the votes are being cast will give a bit more less bias. Maybe people do their own more research kind of thing. So anyway, just a feature I enabled there. But we do have our meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. ET. So if you are interested in joining the meeting, please swing by. We're going to have it at this time tomorrow. And that's about that for the DAO. So let's jump into the first topic, which is around Ticket EV. So there was an announcement actually just before this meeting that Rafal said that they are swapping over the test streamers to the new Ticket EV. So that is the topic I originally brought up. I does anyone know if that's been rolled out with the main broadcasters yet, or are they just starting with the test streamers?
It doesn't look like it's been rolled out to the test streamers yet because I have not lowered my ticket EV on a good portion of my nodes, and I'm still getting the test streams. So unless it just happens to be the streams that have come in have been on the nodes where I think I only have one that's actually lowered down right now. So I still don't think it's even rolled out to the test stream yet. Test stream works. Which I guess, and I can tell you it's definitely not rolled out into production yet because I still have streams on all my nodes.
Yeah, I got streams across mine too, and I haven't changed my Ticket EV at all. So yeah, I mean he just announced it like I don't know a couple hours ago or something. So probably
Yeah,
will.
in all of fairness, I just updated my ticket EV on all the nodes, and streams just picked up straight away. So I'm getting hit with tickets left, right, and center at the moment, but no winners.
Well, you're going to get a lot of it's going to increase your tickets. Substantially.
Yeah,
that is.
I just looked at it. Even my CPU usage is going up, so it might be a problem for people sharing servers.
For the CPU usage, is it going up? How many streams are you at, and like how much is it affecting your CPU?
Right, I got the 5 streams at the moment, and my CPU utilization is. Give me a second. About 25%, and before it used to be max 10%.
What kind of CPU are you running?
I need to look at the spec. Don't be asking questions like that, okay?
Is it like a multi-core? Like is this a machine that you run, or is this like a VPS?
Yeah, but it's dedicated server, so it's a multi-core CPU. I think it's 4-core CPU, so it's not 1 core or something like that.
Right.
Wow, you're taking up 1/4 of the system, though? 4 cores? 1 core is being used for this now that the ticket change was made?
Yep.
I didn't see any noticeable increase on when I was testing it I was testing it with the Hetzner server, which is running an i7 from I want to say it's a 7700 series, so it's they're on 14 was just announced, so it's a 7-year-old CPU, and I didn't notice any noticeable increase in CPU usage, but I did post in the originally in Discord about the amount of time it took to process the tickets. thanks to Brad's logs that calculated the time that it takes to process the tickets. But I didn't see any like actual CPU, like and definitely nothing substantial like what you're talking about, Paul.
Are you Pawn, are you running anything else that's CPU intensive on that machine, like Prometheus?
Yeah, so that's gonna be scrape, but it's just scraping. I'm not querying on that machine, so I'm scraping and sending it away.
Okay.
So queries goes from a different machine.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, there's definitely going to be a CPU increase. I wonder if we're going to end up with issues around CPU now running out of processing power before, say, a multi GPU like unit. So,
I mean, it sounds like it could be a possibility. I mean, if 5 streams took it up to 25%, I'm still kind of blown away by that.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean,
What happened when you're at
I know it
20
slows
stream
down
speeds? That's not
yeah.
good.
does it affect the? Do we know if it affects the stream segment like transcode time? Like if it's waiting for a ticket
Yeah,
or
it
something?
does. It does. It does. I posted it originally. Let me see if I can find it in Discord. Which I mean, I was playing with different values, but I think at the 10 Gwei, I think it was adding, and again, it depends on the stream profile, like and how many resolutions you're doing. I think it was adding about 2 milliseconds per segment. I'm going off the top of my head here. I'm not good at multitasking, but I can try and go back and find when I
Sure. So it's
posted it.
pretty negligible though, like sub
Yeah,
5 milliseconds.
um, yeah, but it is, it is on every single segment. Rafal and Brad didn't seem to think it was a big deal. I mean, I like to have everything running as fast as possible. So for me, I was like, what? 2 milliseconds more per segment. Um, but let's see if I can't find where I posted it. Hmm. Well, I mean, again, it's a couple of milliseconds, and it depends on how many tickets you're getting, which is also dependent on
Yeah.
how big the streams are or how heavy the streams are.
Well,
I think at the 10 Gwei, I was getting about 3 tickets per segment for a whatever Brad's tests are, which I think are 4 resolutions. Um, hmm, oh, I see. There's a separate thread for it. That's why I can't find it.
yeah, so probably we're gonna see people with a smaller CPUs getting backlogged. So probably processing power as Titan says gonna start running out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I know some
Well,
people
I don't
that
know where my
want
post is, but I did actually post actual logs. Maybe it was longer ago than I thought. I mean, you shouldn't drop out of real time or anything like that unless you are really, really right on the border. But it does slow down, and then, and then again, that is on top of the changes that 7.1 adds, depending on. I haven't really nailed it down if it's the GPU that makes the difference or if it's the different operating systems. But between I've seen 20 to 30% increase in processing time, just from running the 7.1 update that has the slow transcoding or encoding preset versus I guess it was medium before. So basically, with what we, and I haven't done a load test, which I still really would like to do. But basically, with the same amount of hardware, we're able to do less streams now than we used to, per card.
But not per card, but per se, but like because now we have just CPU constraints. rather than.
Well, I'm talking about it's also the 7.1 update, which
Yes.
which slows you, which is takes considerably more time to process. So yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes, sorry, when it so I'm talking two things, because one is I found my post about how long the processing takes, but the I mean, get my train of thought back. Because it's taking longer to process from the 7.1, doing a higher quality encode that takes longer, so that will slow you down just based on GPU alone. Then also having the processing the tickets, because those don't happen synchronous. They're asynchronous, so it waits till the tickets are processed before it will transcode the next segment. It has to make sure the tickets are good or valid before it processes. So I see here when I originally tried, when originally it was proposed to do a 1 GUI instead of 10 GUI, it was taking, well, actually it caused all kinds of problems to the point where you couldn't have your price over, I think it was 300 without it maxing out the amount of tickets that Go Livepeer allows it to send per segment. But it was taking up to 12 milliseconds to do, it looks like 50 tickets, which was the max you could send out. And then it came down to, I mean, now it's only 1 millisecond to do three tickets per segment. So that's, it's not huge, but I always multiply that out by 1 millisecond per segment all day long. It adds up.
Well,
And again, that's going to depend on, I guess, which processor is. But this was on a relatively old processor. I mean, like I said, 7-year-old processor.
that's right. Up until like 4 months ago, I was running like a 4300 i7. So I was like, but it all blew up. So I was like, okay, almost 10 years out of it.
Yeah, 10 years. That's a pretty good amount of time to get out of a piece of computer hardware.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Cool. Well, yeah. So I guess we just gotta add, I believe if you have the latest binary, you don't have to do the ticket EV update, the flag. But if you
Just to be clear, it's the latest master, not the latest release. So if you're running the latest release, you do need to change your ticket EV. But if you're running the latest master, that has the ticket EV.
Yeah, it's just like
default.
some off release number. Like it's not an official release. So the lion's share of us are all running a release version. So they're going to need to make ticket EV changes. Just plan on it. And even if you're not, even if you are running the latest master has a lower ticket EV value. The default is lower than what they're recommending you to select.
Right. It's set at 8 by default, but you can run up to 10 GUI. And remember, it's all in way, so don't so set accordingly.
there you go. We'll have to update that soon and see how it goes. I'm gonna wait until we see my test streams fall off first, and then I will update it just to see if it's working.
Yeah, I guess I will comment that I think it would have been a good idea to put out a new release for to do this. As opposed to just saying run the latest master. I think it's probably confusing for a lot of people. But we're here. We understand how it works. We'll get through it. But it seemed like it would have been a good idea for especially because it's a breaking change. I mean, if you don't do anything, you're not going to get any work. I feel like that would have been even just a dot release, but I think it would have been a good idea just to make it a little easier for people. So when people start showing up saying, "Hey, I'm not getting any work. What's going on? Are you running the latest release?" Oh no, okay. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all very well, they're trying to move quickly. I'm sure they just don't want to re-release for this for some reason. I don't know. But here we are. People in this water cooler chat are going to be on top of it, man. So.
Yep.
Cool. Any other comments or questions around Ticket EV? Basically, yeah. I'm just gonna wait until. I feel like actually there's going to be quite a few orchestrators that don't increase it in time. So I feel like if you do it preemptively, you might actually get a bump in streams. So it might be worth doing it early.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that. I mean, there were a lot
Yes,
of
sir.
people that had no idea when the pricing change stuff went into effect, and I got some DMs from people who had been orchestrators for quite a while that just weren't, active in Discord, and were like, "Hey, I stopped getting streams about, X number of days or weeks ago." And I'm said, "Do you aware that now price is part of the selection algorithm?" What? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me change that. So I expect we'll see the same or very similar type of stuff.
Just on that same note, remember they updated the selection algorithm on the 9th or the 10th of October. So if you're keeping track of payouts, if you're using Livepeer tools and look at the last 30 days, you'll see a complete cycle now with all of the latest selection algorithms, and you'll see the prices, the ETH payouts are significantly down compared to prior months.
Yeah. The network just got a lot cheaper. That's for sure. So whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, not too sure yet. But
Good for the consumers, bad for the operators.
Well, I think someone pointed this out last week, which is it's good for the broadcasters. It's not necessarily the
That's what I'm
consumer.
saying. Those are the folks
Oh,
consuming the GPU resources.
Yeah, definitely. I just
But
gave up.
operators of it is not as good.
I just gave up on the price thing. I just set it to 900 and just letting it do that. And
you're at 900 right now.
Yeah, I have been ever since they changed the fix for the price manipulation. Like I was just setting it up so like the first segment was 0, and then the rest of them were 900. So just totally gaming it, right? And it worked for about a week and a half. And then they fixed it, and I was like, oh, there I'm at 0 streams, and I was getting on their side. There's errors of price. The orchestrator changed the price. And I'm, okay, so they fixed it. So then I just reverted it and just set it to 900 and just don't even bother anymore. So, and
are you getting any work though?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a Los Angeles stream for the last 4 hours, and
is your dashboard current? I got 0 streams for you right now. I just pulled you up. Unless maybe it just ended. Titan dashboard. Oh wait, that's so weird. Maybe your dashboard's not working properly. It says you have 0 streams, but it must have. No, wait, looks like it just ended.
Unless it just ended. I don't.
I think it just ended.
It just
yep,
ended.
Just ended. It just ended. Okay, yeah. Now I see that. I had to zoom in.
No, I just set it to 900, and I even bumped up to 2 streams there for a sec. And I've been getting winning tickets mostly in Sao Paulo.
I see that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, London, I get 29 tickets per day. That's like pretty bad.
That's gonna change. That's gonna change dramatically when the new ticket EV goes in.
Yeah, like LA, 120 tickets a day. Like I'm not getting any work, right? But Sao Paulo, I'm getting like 4,000 or 5,000.
Making up for it there.
Yeah, I got 3 tickets just in the last couple days, and it's just because I got one guy in Sao Paulo that does it and does a round trip and pretty quick.
I think there's only one orchestrator, maybe 2, that have transcoding capabilities there. So not a lot of competition.
Sao Paulo is my best performing region.
I see that.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
Wow.
Sao Paulo is my best performing region, and this guy is like.
Well, it won't be after this call. Everyone's going to grab Sao Paulo transcoders.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
They're
So
expensive. I looked into it a while. Actually, I had one for a while. It definitely did not. It was not worth it at the time.
and it normally sits idle. It normally just doesn't do anything. But when randomly one long stream comes in at 1080p or something, I can do it. And so so that's been my Sao Paulo's been my only and I believe it's just because there's really no competition. So and the guy in my pool is like really stoked. He's like more than happy to do the work. So he's not leaving anytime soon. So I pretty much got Sao Paulo cranked up pretty good, and it doesn't cost me any monthly cost to run, and the guy that's in the pool is happy, and so so I think that there's just not much competition, so that's my only area where I get any work, and I'm just at 900 still, so just been not bothering to go down and and the problem is I can't adjust my price, and I'll lose all my streams, so I don't feel like doing that.
Oh, because you're not running the release that
I'm not,
allows you to change it, right?
Yeah, I'm not running that release yet, so I'm like, well,
Actually, that's a good point. That was that actually released? I have it in a build that I'm using, but I don't know that it was actually released.
No, I think it's in the same thing. I think it's in the same ticket EV bucket of like, it's in the master,
Right.
but not the release.
Yeah, I feel like they could put out a release for those two features alone.
So there's two.
Being able to change your price is a kind of a
there's two breaking changes. Like if you just go use the latest release, you're gonna run into not only one issue you're not getting streams, but possibly two, right? Oh no, you will, because if you don't use the price auto adjust to false, it will change based on the GUI, and then you will not keep any streams.
So you like actually have to you manually have to go in and put that to false. Otherwise, you are running
reconfigure it by default.
So if someone just, I think that
if someone just comes along and if someone comes along and just tries spinning up an O node, they're gonna suffer greatly with the current release. Like it's gonna be real rough. They're gonna be running into like two uncorrelated issues that will put you at 0 streams.
Same, and you can't just say, oh, just grab the latest release, because they're going to be new and it's going to be even more of a headache to explain.
Yeah, you want to go compile the latest master? I'll have fun with that, buddy.
Sundara wrist slitting comes to my head every time I hear somebody say that.
Do you know how many times I've compiled that with this AV1 at this point? I feel like I could do it in my sleep now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got it dialed in.
Not on Windows though.
A build server that automatically compiles it for me. So
on Windows too?
Compiling is no, not Windows. Sorry.
Dude, I have yet to find anyone in this community that can compile on Windows. Like not a single person.
We'll just update the build GitHub action Titan. It ain't worth it. I think we just got to rewire some things on that.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to try to compile it, but it was like, wait, I don't even have a Windows box to try it on. So, I don't even have a place to even experiment with building it.
Mike is so far gone from Windows. He's just he's like, nah, I don't even have, I'm not even compatible, man.
I have Windows computers all over my house and I won't do it. I just refuse. I think I tried it once a couple of years ago and got so far down a rabbit hole I got lost and just never went back.
I couldn't even get FFmpeg onto my Windows computer. I just it would not go, and I was like, I'm not even gonna. I'm done. I gave up.
I think John's the guy. He's done it. I think he's successfully done it on Windows. So I think he's the guy.
Elite has. Wow, that's a feat in itself if he's gotten it to work on Windows.
But I really came up here because I have changed my ticket EV and I have a stream of 480p and 720p and it's 5 tickets per segment basically. Oh. And that's taken about 3 milliseconds just by using the receiving ticket log line to time it, which is not perfect.
What's your CPU usage? Any noticeable increase?
I didn't test it before, so I have no basis on that. But this is on my EU one, and it's like the Hetzner one, which is, you know, an old i7.
Super hefty. Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
lots of cores on that thing.
Yeah. But it's only taking 3 milliseconds. But nonetheless, Pon, do you have debug logs on? Like, did you have V6 or something?
Yes, I do.
Try to see if you put that down to V4 or
Alright.
something. See if your CPU goes down.
All right.
I put up a PR to do a kind of like summary log line instead of getting a log line for every single ticket that comes in right now. But it only happens if you're on V6 or above.
Okay, can give it a go later on.
Who knows when that'll be actually added to the thing though. And then everybody will have to do a new version of the current build.
There you go. Brad, take us away on some AV1 alpha. Where are you at with that?
It's kind of gotten sidecarred a little bit. I got busy with other things right now. Still testing though on it to see how it works and trying to find nuances and corner cases and stuff like that. But nothing major to update right now.
I'm gonna start writing a blog post about it so I can announce it, just so that'll speed you up, because then you have to keep up with the article.
That's gonna be a waste of time, my friend. But go for it.
Community-driven upgrades. Brad at Astro Video implements AV1.
The other part is it has to be implemented all the way through the stack, right? So like all this Catalyst stuff that we're trying to work through right now, it has to be implemented all the way through.
Yeah, but maybe we can just
part of what I'm doing is trying to make a portal like that just that it could be tested by others or used without having to do the whole Catalyst or Livepeer.
What about the broadcaster, the Livepeer broadcaster? Does that natively get the AV1 support, or does it not?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does?
The
that's
updates
great.
I've done, the transcoding happens in LPMS, which then Go Livepeer pulls some stuff from LPMS at build time. And so just the binaries will include the updates.
So if I spun up a broadcaster with your build, I'd be able to send AV1 transcoding through?
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. That's cool.
You got to rebuild FFmpeg before you build it for sure. But it's worked on everything that I've tried it anyway.
Wow, that's great.
There you go. I'll get ChatGPT to start writing up an article around how Brad was so successful in deploying such a large upgrade. It's going to be wonderful.
Anybody have Catalyst up yet? Working, at least locally?
I had the local server working, but with localhost, 8080 everywhere, it's almost impossible to deploy it. I tried to go out to VPS, but it's not ready for that. I think even Eli admitted there's work to do there. So I got it up, but it's still a ways away from being useful.
Sounds like it's getting closer though. I still have to go back and watch the one that I missed, that last meeting or last group call. But it does sound like it's getting closer.
Well, they're pushing updates to that Docker repo regularly, so you can get a version working in the middle of the day, and then by the end of the day, you try it again and it'll break. So, they're making updates regular. So, if you get the first attempt and it still fails, don't be upset, because they probably pushed something recently.
I have enough going on. I'm gonna let you guys champion this and write me a little how-to. That's all right.
Well, I'm in the point where I'm letting them let the dust settle a little bit. Like, they're pushing updates as I'm pulling them. Like, it's almost impossible to keep up. So I'm hoping that the development settles down, and as Eli gets closer to targeting his VPS deployments, then I think then I'll probably jump back in. The local stuff I already have. I know what it's there. I just want to get it on the server start benchmarking stuff, but we're a bit ways from there. So as soon as that is ready, I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, there we go. Any other updates? About stuff. We talked about Ticket EV. We talked about some AV1. We talked about compiling. Anything else you'd like to cover?
I got an off-topic idea.
Yes, go ahead.
It's tied to Marco's stuff he was talking about in Discord, but basically, you know, he was talking about what would it look like to have a public broadcaster, like, you know, someone that can, you know, I don't know if there's an online registry, an off-chain registry, a blockchain registry, something sort of like the orchestrator service URIs, but for broadcasters. So that anyone that has OBS can just point to a broadcaster and go, or maybe log into a website, log in, create an account, and then start streaming. Like, I don't know if there's anyone willing to do a public broadcaster, or is that something that even Livepeer grants might even want to consider funding, is getting a public broadcaster. I think you mentioned something about that, Titan, too. Just didn't know what anyone else thought about it.
What, just like wrap it into a smart contract so you deposit stuff in there to work on the payments, or is it you talking about just like completely free?
Well, I don't know. I think free probably be the easiest when you don't have payments, but at the same time, if you wanted to maybe pay per use, you could probably put something on top of it. I don't know. I just, you know, it'd be cool to have someone can just point to the Livepeer network, start streaming, and, you know, get feedback without having to spin up a stack.
Is there
Yeah.
Is there a way that broadcaster could monetize that stream in other ways to offer a free service? Like, I know the whole Web3 movement was getting away from advertising as
Well, that's the way.
the payment model, right? It was kind of like this idea of, hey, we don't, you know, advertising dominated the industry and we want to get away from that. But like, that's what makes things free. That's why radio is free and really successful. And that's why. So is there something we could do where we could team up with like a basic attention token and we could say, hey, listen, we can embed maybe ads or provide ads in some way. And we could say, hey, listen, we can earn BAT based on your stream. And therefore, you know, we'll pay for the stream. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the basic attention token is set up between the, you know, the content creators like register with the base attention token as like certified content providers, and then people using the Brave browser, you know, surfing these content sites, then have some token tipping and all of that they can use to do the ad share stuff, you know. But I don't know how well that would work in this example, right? You'd have to use Brave, and it would be more along the lines of, you know, the browser player of the video would have to do something regarding advertising, right? Because it's not the content creator who would do it. It would be all the people that come to watch the video that somehow well, first off, they'd have to be using Brave and set up the Brave rewards, which I know that's a small subset of browser users today. So yeah. I think it's a possibility, but I think simply, you know, if your player has ads inside the player, or maybe even on a minimal level, having a banner ad at the bottom of the video that gets inserted, you know, for the free streamer, like you publish your stream and at the bottom it says, you know, click here to go to, you know, whatever, donate to whatever public broadcaster that's there, like some sort of advertiser just flying at the bottom of every stream that's free, you know.
Or is it like a watermark where you just say, hey,
well,
this has been
brought to you by such and such a company.
Just brought to you by Livepeer. Like, want to develop on Livepeer? Go here, right? Brought to you by livepeer.studio or livepeer.tv or Livepeer protocol. And, you know, you get unlimited free transcoding as long as you get the little watermark on there, you know? And as a community, we would easily subsidize that level of advertising, right? Like, you know.
Oh, so
can't
you
just-
mean somebody set up a node and then they would file a grant so that they could get funding on a monthly basis to keep their ads up?
Yeah, just
Oh,
just
interesting.
like the Livepeer Innovators DAO just applies for $100,000 US worth of funding, throws it into deposits it as a broadcaster, and then it just adds a little watermark being like, "Yo, you want to build on Livepeer? Go here." And with the new way of optimizing for price, I mean, that 100,000 is going to go a pretty long way. It's going to be up for years. Yes, I know. Hello. Yes, you've joined. A 2-year-old has joined the chat. So
Nice.
I mean, I think that's the way you do it, Titan. You use the grant process, either Livepeer Innovators DAO or a separate DAO to get it going and running, and then you kind of figure out either the monetization later or just run it as a public good type deal, right?
Well, I think the public good starts the process, right? But hopefully, if you have eyeballs and there's particular customers you're targeting, you can get real money coming in to advertise instead of,
Right.
grants and public funding.
It's just like
Right.
it's like how Restream does it. You can use Restream for free. It says distributed on Restream, and it's like, okay. And I know a lot of people don't care about the watermark. They just want to Restream for free, right? So maybe that's something we could do to provide advertising for the network, creating demand. And I mean, if we sold $100,000 worth of Livepeer and pushed it through the system as transcoding rewards, that authentically was traffic through the network, not just arbitrarily giving more money, like that would be I think an evolution or a process towards more usage, right?
Yeah.
And then I think developers,
I definitely think so.
I think
mean,
developers would just like, yeah, it's free. Built a package called Free Transcode, import free transcoder, Python, import free transcoder, JavaScript, whatever. And it's just like, great, point your URL, point your ingest here, and you're done. You don't even have to think about it.
And I mean, there could be tiers on it too. I mean, like you only get a certain amount, maybe for free or at least watermarked. And then, if it's over a certain amount, you may then, depending on if the volume starts to get crazy, then maybe you can't do free for everything. But I think it's definitely a good way to get eyeballs onto Livepeer just in general.
Yeah, I mean, you cross that bridge when you get to it, right? Just,
I think that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, if we push $100,000 through the network because of free usage, it's like, okay, somebody wants to use this thing, like, and somebody's seen at least the Livepeer watermark.
Yeah, and I think you should be able to get some of that to convert, even if they have to, if it turns into a paid service for certain types of use.
Yeah. Or maybe there's a few orchestrators that would like to support this initiative, and we say, okay, well, maybe this broadcaster, we decrease the price per pixel so that it goes farther, or something like this, or it's free, and so it no longer needs to be funded by the grant. It can be funded by orchestrators who are willing to transcode free watermarks because they know the value of it, right? So I don't know. It's an idea.
One thing I don't want to do though is put the squeeze on orcs again. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, is I wouldn't want the orcs to lower their prices. Like, you'd have to sustain this where the ad revenue itself, or with some small subsidies by the grant program just to get started, that eventually you don't need to subsidize it anymore, either with lower prices, artificial low pricing. Like, I feel like the value of the network is already low. Like, you should be able to say, with this free broadcaster, you have demonstrated the capabilities for somebody to leverage this platform without having to be gouged by Amazon or any other GPU rental services. Like, this is where, as long as you got the bandwidth, to support it, you can pump the streams in and out, and at a fraction. And again, with all these price changes that have been made in the network recently, that fraction is a real fraction now.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, what you end up doing is creating a bit of a loop or a cycle where you say, okay, you take $100,000 out of the Livepeer treasury in LPT, you sell it for ETH, and then you run that ETH through the network, and then but you don't get a discount at all. You're paying full rates, and then what happens is that the Livepeer network goes much higher in usage and transcoding fees, which pumps up the coin because you're getting usage and more fees. So then you take another 100,000 out of the, now that, the Livepeer goes up in value. So now you reconvert that into ETH, and then you get to do it again, and it becomes a bit of a pump, a self-perpetuating pump.
I mean, yeah, but ideally, the real value add comes from, hey, if you were to do this on your own servers without the public network, you're going to be paying through the nose on server and infrastructure costs. But at a fraction of that cost, you can do it. So like, you would really be making a compelling argument to say, hey, this free broadcaster runs, and here's its operating expenses. It's virtually nothing. But imagine if you were either a video provider like Mux, or think of somebody like, one of the customers that I thought would be a perfect target would be, I don't know if you guys ever heard of like Gumroad, which is like they're a site that allows you to publish like digital courses and videos and stuff like that. But when a person uploads their course, their video course, and people watch it, it's streamed. So like, this would be a perfect case, because I'm pretty sure they have servers in house that are gonna transcode that video, store it somewhere, save it, and then play it back over HLS, right? And if you're gonna do that, and you're gonna do that at scale, this is a perfect integration for Livepeer, where you can just send the video in, get it transcoded, save it back, and stream it. You don't even need to use it for a CDN. You can just transcode the video and save it. They're doing that today. Well, I would imagine that they're probably running infrastructure to do it. And if they don't have to run infrastructure, that just means lower overhead costs.
Bada boom, bada bing. I like it. I mean, as for infrastructure costs, I talked to the Mahmood, who does the join cluster orchestrator. He's the guy from Amazon Prime Video, and I talked to him a little bit about Livepeer and some of its abilities to get ahead. And he basically said, like, in the more developed countries, Livepeer is going to have a harder time because we already have good infrastructure and lots of competition and stuff. But he says, working at Amazon, one of the problems of dealing with new up-and-coming places was, deciding how big your data centers should be, how to deploy them, when to deploy them, and making sure you're not over or under allocating. And his thing was around Livepeer being super dynamic and its ability to scale up and scale down based on demand. He said that really is the MVP of Livepeer. And so, because these large corporations, they go in and build, $100 million, or whatever, $1 million data centers that hopefully get utilized and are needed and not underutilized, or not overutilized and things like this. So,
well, they're going to be. That's the problem, is that if you're building a data center, your data center has to withstand your largest amount of stream traffic for a given day. So like, if your best day of the year is Black Friday, and all of a sudden, like, all these people are like streaming and watching, your infrastructure has to support that one day max stream. And then everything else that's there, that you build in your infrastructure, will be idle when you're not using your peak usage. So like, and then you also have to account for growth. So like if you're growing your user base every month, that also means your infrastructure has to grow. So and that infrastructure is fixed costs. And Livepeer, to your point, is dynamic, where they don't need to have fixed costs. They can just scale up when they need it. They can even use that to augment their existing infrastructure if they really wanted to. But again, I
I was
still
gonna
feel
say,
like go ahead.
does Livepeer right now exist? Like, it, is it made where people can actually utilize Video Miner for supplemental demand, and like on top of, uh, their current fixed supply? Like, I don't know much about the studio side, but like, would you be able to run it side by side? You saying anything? Like, I don't know if there's any way to detect like a routed capacity here, so failover goes to this, and then it kicks on for Livepeer on demand.
Well, AWS obviously has that stuff in their infrastructure, but
Right.
any operator that's running their own video ingest platform would have to build that kind of stuff. So it wouldn't be automatic. They would have to put something in place to allow that. But
Hmm.
technically speaking, there's no reason why you can say, "Oh, my data center only supports 1,000 streams, and when it goes over that, start sending it over here."
Yeah. I know from like our side that's something that like even for orchestrators we kind of we're hoping, well, early on, and we were looking for it, which is when this when this orchestrator here hits this many streams, I want you to start spilling over to this other orchestrator in this other region. I know I'm going to get a slower speed, but at least I'll be able to distribute the load versus start turning down streams or start degrading quality because that one GPU is getting overloaded.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a cool feature, at least from our side, but also on the reverse side for a broadcaster, having just the ability to tie in and say, hey, I'm at capacity here. I want why, so that way people aren't saying like, because not every, the reality is most companies aren't going to be okay with just giving up and saying, yep, let's just dump our entire infrastructure load. The thing that we know is safe and secure and it works and it's been working great. We just need a little bit extra. And then, that not just going to give that up and go full live here. A lot of them are going to want to say, all right, let's just use you for our overload and then see how that works out.
Yeah, well, without guarantees on the same level of security going, like, they can't afford to have anyone spying or tampering with the video content. So you need
Hmm.
to have a higher level of trust between the orchestrators and the broadcaster, right? You got to make sure that, in a closed environment, you don't need trust because you have control over all the data flows where everything's going in and out of the network. But in this scenario, data comes in to a secure network, leaves out to a public network, and comes back.
Yeah.
Obviously, enterprises and people with confidential stream content aren't going to want that, or at least they
Wasn't
want to
there
be able to have some guarantees that what they sent out isn't tampered with, nor is it being watched, spied
Yeah,
on.
wasn't there a tool? I forget. Didn't someone build a tool where you can take your stream that you're getting on your server, take that link, and you could start
And
watching the
watch it.
stream?
Yeah,
You can't
that's the
watch
kind of
it, but
stuff.
you could pull a single frame, and it wasn't you could pull a frame from it, and you kind of had to be out in advance and like didn't know it was Joey built it. That
It, cou-
it
it
was
couldn't
Python
follow
script.
along with the flow.
I mean, maybe someone could build that does work that way, but this was to pull a single frame. You could see like a single frame, and um,
Hmm.
Just to get
uh,
a keyhole's perspective on what's happening, they take a quick peek and see what's in the pipeline. But it's that stuff that enterprises are not going to want happening. You know.
Yeah.
and I'm guessing if someone really wanted to take the time to figure out a way to actually see the whole stream, it probably wouldn't be
You
too
can.
difficult.
It's not hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
Nope.
mean
I
the
mean,
video's
as
there.
long as you keep up with the segments and you know what the size of the segments are, I think it counts incrementally, right? Like, 8501, 8502.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no,
and
it's time ordered sequence of data. Like it's not like a video stream has to play in sequence in order.
Yeah. Yeah. You could technically follow along with that.
I mean it is unencrypted. When it's being
Passed around.
Transcoded. So yeah,
That's right.
It's relatively trivial for someone to go in and figure out a way to not only view it but probably also make a copy of it.
You put something in
That's
place that can guarantee that it's not being tampered with and nobody can spy on that content. Now you have some guarantees that you can make to enterprise customers and that they would be more than willing to look at that solution. Whereas today it's like, yeah, our stuff's encrypted in our data center, but once it leaves to the public network, it's wide open. Look at it. Nah, that's all right. I'm good.
Just from like a readability side of things, like couldn't they technically just hash the, where it says like, for example, like LPMS got HTTP request from this link, whatever. Like I don't need to know what the segment number is on there. Like, couldn't you just?
It's not that's the concern. It's the actual data. Let's say I have a video, I'm Nike and I'm unveiling a new product line, like you don't want anyone to know that, right? You don't want the public to have the ability to pull down your content, mess with it, even if they're not doing it. They're just watching it, streaming it themselves, just being able to look at it and see it in itself is a violation. It needs to be encrypted from when they send it in and then when it comes back, so that but that's a big problem, right? You can't have it encrypted and then also decode it. You have to decrypt it, then decode it, right? And that's where the problem comes in.
Alvin, they doing anything about this?
You guys working on that?
I mean, it'd have to be encrypted and then decrypted on the GPU. Like everything would have to be on the GPU basically, or in memory. But even then, it's not
it can't be in memory because
possible.
somebody can fork the code and then like inspect what's in memory. You can't have the ability to decode it on that node or decrypt
Isn't
it,
there
rather.
always there has to be a moment at some point though that it is entirely unsecured to be able to do that though. There's
but if you think about it in a typical like Web 2 world, that's servers that are managed by, let's say, Google at YouTube, right? YouTube, and it has their own GPUs. They can decrypt it on their servers because they know no one else is in there spying and tampering, right? They have guarantees. So if something got leaked saying, oh, YouTube stole our video and published it somehow, or it got leaked through YouTube, and it probably would be like an insider attack, right? Somebody was in there and able to steal the content. Like that would be a lawsuit against YouTube, right? They take all the brunt of the liability for that. Because it's their servers.
Yeah,
but if it goes out to the public,
an anonymous orchestrator on a decentralized network.
So it can really only
go anywhere.
It can really only get utilized for non-crucial data at that point, but that's kind of a hard sell.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of public content that could be transcoded over the network, and most people won't have liability concerns. But there is a large portion of content that, think about a phone call between you and me if we're doing it over the internet, right? Like, or like recording a private company meeting, you know what I mean? Like anything along those lines, if it's going through that video channel, if anyone can intercept it and look at it, you're going to have problems. There was a lawsuit against Zoom that had similar problems where the data was either entering or leaving unencrypted from their network, and some consumer of it found it and then put a class action lawsuit against Zoom for it. And they ended up losing and paying millions of dollars, but now they have on their marketing lines, secure encryption end to end. So now they got sued. It was a problem. Now it's on their product. Tough stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Who's going to solve all our problems?
Titan.
You.
No, sir. Dude, I know how to right click and paste. But my skill level. But that's okay.
Sprinkle a little chat GPT on top.
Yeah, a little chat GPT. Although I do right click and left click and create these water cooler chats. So hopefully that's That's my portion of giving in. Yeah. With that being said, yeah. So we covered quite a bit. Any other topics we want to cover? Yeah, I think we've gone through all the topics that we originally had here. So maybe we'll just end it short on today's water cooler. And don't forget, tomorrow is the Livepeer Innovators DAO at the same time as this when this started. So jump in for that. Otherwise, yeah, open up to the floor one last time for any comments before we sign off.
All set.
Right on. Cool. Well, don't forget to change your ticket EV value if you're not running the latest master, and yeah, keep doing what we're doing. And if we want to go ahead with some sort of public discourse around maybe this idea of a public free broadcaster with a watermark, maybe we could bring that up in a thread or a chat somewhere, maybe in a blog post or a forum post. That might be a good place to write out this thought.
I have some ideas on paper too. I'm just trying to figure out how all this stuff fits together. So if we want to talk about it, I'm game for that.
Yeah. Do we think that's a good idea? Doing a free public broadcaster with a watermark?
I think it's a good idea for Livepeer in general. I don't know how practical the operation itself might be, but if there's a way that we can somehow get funding external that makes it, like a nonprofit almost, and then you can just keep running, that's a pretty good thing for Livepeer to have.
But isn't that what Livepeer Studio kind of already does, though? They give away free minutes.
Yeah, but remember, that's the whole point. Is as Doug pointed out, a network with one broadcast, Livepeer with one broadcaster is what he was calling a quote stoppable network. Whereas if you had 2, 3, 4, 5 broadcasters running, Livepeer Inc. goes belly up. The network continues on, right? It's unstoppable at that point. So I think you're going to need, even if it is a nonprofit like an NPR, right? You just need something that is using the network and money's flowing through, transactions are occurring, because that helps, broaden its use cases and keeps it always available. But like if Studio goes away, then, the network is pretty much dead.
And I mean, it also opens it up and lets developers really try the network and use it and not be, to Mike's point, using Studio. I mean, they can still use it in a decentralized way where they're not using. I mean, I guess
email signups, having an
there's still the
account.
entity that's running the broadcaster, but it still gives a better, I guess, access into the open network as opposed to right now where it seems like most things go through Studio, which ends up using the open network, but not entering through it, which I think would be nice to be able to try and push that a little bit more.
It's also a way to provide some kind of like meta style metrics of how the whole network is working. So it's not tied up into like the Studio where they have their metrics, they're internal. We don't see any of them unless they're in reports or something like that. That's what I think.
I think there's a lot.
Yeah, what does it cost to be a broadcaster? What does it cost to be a broadcaster, right? Like,
how long does it take
I want to run a broadcaster. How much does it cost? Like,
yeah,
this will be a real world example that you could just publish and see. Oh, a VPS costs this. I'm paying this amount out in ETH to the orchestrators when I'm streaming, and like revenue coming in from advertising is X, right? Like now you got the P&L right in front of you. You can look at it and say, oh, okay, it's going to cost me X amount to run. If I have a business today that already uses GPUs, I can look at that and make a cost comparison and say, wow, look, I can actually save money if I didn't run this infrastructure. So I think it's a good way. It's like a public use case that people can unpack and scrutinize and see how it might work for them in their scenario.
I did run some numbers on doing like in a pool setting, running a VPS, having the traffic go in and out of the standalone O node.
Mm-hmm.
It was not it was not very. It was quite concerning.
What do you mean the cost?
I would say share some more. What do you mean?
Yeah, just the
What did you see?
costs, just the sheer cost of the amount. So I took the price per pixel, laid it out the amount of pixels you would get in say a 24-hour stream, and then I laid out the bit rate of each rendition and converted that into the byte rate and the amount of bytes per second, and then converted that into your total one stream daily, and then I took the cost. So I'm using like a couple different. I started doing research on what data costs. So like if you were just running generic VPSs with DigitalOcean, you're looking at 1 cent per gigabyte. And if you do other services, you can get something like 100 terabytes for $100. Things like this. But then you're looking at $1,600 a month for just the dedicated colo. And anyway, I started doing some math. I did 4 or 5 different spreadsheets based on standalone O with cheap VPSs and high data costs, and then colos with higher data but not as but you have to but more fixed fees, and then standalone O's with self-hosting, and then I did a whole bunch, and basically at 900 price per pixel with a standalone O using DigitalOcean at a cent per gigabyte, you're actually break even or losing money just in data costs.
Yeah, that's my concern when I look at the bandwidth usage. Because again, think about it. A streaming platform. You're going to ingest the video. You're going to send it out to Livepeer for transcoding, send it out and receive it potentially, and then you have the viewers who want to watch it and play it back. That's a lot of data in and out of that VPS.
Yeah. So, because I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, Livepeer Inc. pays for data. I also had a friend that ran like an IPS back in the 2000s. He's a bit out of the game, but he's still And I talked to him about data throttling and these things from IPSs to people's homes. And he says, so his first comment was, with the advent of fiber, he says, I don't think data throttling is a thing anymore. Like, it can be, but if you're doing a handful of streams, just the amount of data that like Netflix is pushing through, like, you could max out 1 GPU, but like you're really still not maxing out the whole gigabit a second. And even then, it's like, yeah, he's like, I've never heard of IPS's throttling lately with fiber connections.
Remember that
Really
started to
funny.
become a thing though with Comcast and in Canada, right? That was the starting point of that, where they were going to do data limits and then throttle past that or charge past that.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's the
if it
problem is
ever
when you hit
developed.
caps. If you have caps and you start exceeding the caps, that's when you're going to start seeing the throttling. And I think that's where the problems are, because they don't want, especially ISP or, houses, residentials, they don't want them hosting systems, right?
Right, exactly. So talking to him a little bit about that, and he said, I don't see it being a problem if someone's got 1 GPU and they're, doing 5 streams. Like, he's like, they're probably not gonna, you're probably not gonna hit your limits. But he says, as for data centers, like, data is how they make their money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll never give you unlimited data. Like, it's just like not a thing, right? And yeah, just based on my numbers, like if you run the traffic through like an ingest node through the broadcaster, and then an ingest node through the orchestrator, and then 2 residential housing to do the transcoding, and then back through those 2 nodes, like just the data cost alone of moving that is it doesn't even make up for the fact that the transcoding's so cheap. Like, it's still cheaper just to transcode without those 2 points of double way traffic, right? Based on my calculations. So
Well, and again, to our same point, as we just said, leaving the network to go to the public is a security and a privacy concern. So if you're saying is you couple that with the bandwidth concerns, the cost of the data traffic, it makes it very hard to say, is Livepeer, cost effective?
right, and so really it came down to like, yeah, that 1200 wave per pixel was sustainable in that model because at least there was some margin. But like at 900, you're break even, and then just what I'm seeing with the price, the elephant in the room, which is I think Marco changed his dashboard, so it's a bit harder to read now. But if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of people at 50 now, like below 100,
Yeah,
sub
there's a
100.
lot of low prices. I mean, I wish we had a clear picture of that. There's no, this is what I said to Hunter last week or 2 weeks ago. It's like, dude, like we got this stuff in place, but we have orchestrators are flying blind, man. You can't see. You don't know how much their people are charging. So like you would have to guess what your price should be.
Yeah. So
the average went down from like 600 down to 406 now. And it was like 650 a few weeks ago. And there's a ton of people setting them at like 19, and then it goes down to 2. It's like the whole first page of his dashboard now, and a little bit on the second page is people on 19 price per pixel.
The average is useless because there's so many people that like the number one orc in the stake is still running at 900, right? Like yet they're still getting streams and getting tickets, but like the averages are not gonna, that 900 is bringing up a lot of those averages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely much lower. I mean, if you put yourself over 200, I mean, you're almost crippling yourself completely. Like, and that's the thing is, it's like what? Yeah, we have LPT that is gonna like carry us through the fact that we're basically getting nothing. It took me like 8 days or 9 days to get a ticket in the beginning, right? I felt like it was back in the beginning when tickets were $1,800, but or $800, sorry.
$20 now. That's the difference. If you wait 7 days for a $20 ticket, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's putting pressure on the fact that LPT needs to have a value. I mean, which I don't know if that's good or not, but it's like we're reliant on that entirely, which is not for nothing. I mean, for people who are running, whatever the minimum LPT amount is, if it's 2,000 LPT, you're making like a couple bucks a day for running your
Yeah, but
GPU.
here's the problem, though. This is the problem I have with it. This is why I've been rethinking my strategy. I don't know what I'm going to do going forward, but the whole plan that I had was, as an orchestrator, was LPT is fixed based on the stake you have right now, and we all know that getting new stake is not easy, right? Being
No.
able to scale up your stake is hard. So, like, I was under the assumption that, oh, okay, I'm going to have these LPT rewards. And then if the network doubles in demand, like if it doubles its current demand or if it quadruples its current demand, that, as the demand goes up, I'll get more streams, I can add more hardware, and I'll get more tickets. And that way I'll be able to pay for it. But right now, the scaling up of your infrastructure can't be based on ETH because you don't make enough ETH right now to pay for the existing hardware you have. So like
Yeah.
if the network doubles, you don't have enough income to double your footprint, right? Like,
Yeah, you're already
and your
streaming at a loss.
LPT is not going up, right? Your LPT is not going to go up, even if the demand does double, you still don't get double LPT. So like, you don't have that scaling factor that your hardware needs that is paired with incentives. Like the incentive has to be able to scale with demand as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyway, yeah, just doing some math, and I was like, interesting. And yeah, because I should have like sat down and started with this, but it's interesting building stuff. But did the
But
math.
it's good
Well,
though. This is where the public broadcaster, we tie it all back into this public broadcaster, right? Like if you're able to see the transparency of that, like if you could look at that operation and say, oh, okay, this is how much bandwidth you're using. Cause like, a lot of the VPSs I have, they give you bandwidth usage charts and stuff. And Like you'll be able to say, oh, okay, this is how much bandwidth I'm using. This is how much the VPS costs. This is how much I'm making from advertising. This is how much I'm paying for storage and delivery, etc. You could get a real clear picture. Like someone else can get in there and say, oh, I can optimize this. I can make it cheaper. And then they can run their own operation. But like having that public, use case gives you a lot of data where people come into the Discord today asking questions. Sorry, Pop, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. It's all on topic. I was just going to say, it brings us back to, what Livepeer was originally wasn't, or it was designed to really be using, I think, people's home networks and processing power and not have people in data centers. So it kind of is pushing it back to, I think, what the original concept was, where, like you were saying, also they tend not to throttle your home bandwidth. So if you've got, a gig or, 5 gigs of, bandwidth, it
Well,
makes it a lot easier to, or not a lot easier, but it gives it it's a different model if you're running out of a home with good bandwidth. And,
But that puts the
it,
protocol in a category of like ham radio. Like, yeah, you can use ham radio, but who the hell does? Nobody, right? Like, you can run one little thing and communicate with people, but that's not like, it's more like a hobby then than it is an enterprise solution or an enterprise grade solution.
like about a year, maybe 2 years ago, Hunter was saying, he's like, our goal over time is actually that you're going to start seeing more professional setups, and the home user is actually going to fade away. So it's actually and I'm going to throw him under the bus, but that was what he was saying. A bright outlook would be for the protocol, but it's just, I mean, the actual company direction and the way that this has gone is kind of in the opposite.
I will say though that if you read, is it the white paper or the initial view, was not even home GPUs; it was ETH miners.
yes, exactly. Which, I mean,
which turns out to be not. That didn't work like at all. Like,
no, I agree. I mean, that was
So the original hypothesis of the token itself is already proven false, yet we're still building on it.
well, I
yeah. I
mean,
mean, things can evolve,
things
but
evolve.
but
Like,
I
yes,
know. I'm joking.
but
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
joking.
Yeah, no, but trying to mine ETH, I mean, that was a major hit to the what you could process, or even if you even could process in real time.
yeah. Well, I think that the
I know,
problem.
it sounded good. It sounded good. It's using a different part of the GPU, but the reality was you're also using all the memory of the GPU for the mining at the time. So um, I think really quickly, most of us realized that it really wasn't feasible to mine ETH and transcode at the simultaneously. The other thing is that we also realized, oh, we don't need to use our expensive ETH mining GPUs. The old ones work as well, if not better, especially at the time, than what's currently available. So there's that benefit of being able to use old hardware. But yeah, the bandwidth costs are hard to get around, especially if you're working in data centers.
So,
Well, again, to me, from just that point alone, you can cut the bandwidth by 1/3, 2/3 by telling the broadcaster, telling the orchestrator to write it somewhere instead of sending it back. Like you send it out, but you never get it back. You just say, here's a location that you can write to that will, then the transcoder writes it to that location, or the orchestrator rather, because he has to get it back. But still, you know what I mean? Like you can eliminate some of that data flow by duplicating what comes back. Like, or, in some cases, you're going to send one source in and you're going to get 3-4 renditions back. Like, you can eliminate all of that return data by just saying, yo, when you get it, send it here. And that way, you at least write it to a final storage location, and then you can play back from there. And then that way, then you can get offset some costs with CDNs, etc. But like right now, having it go from the broadcaster to the O to the T to the O to the B back again, like that's just, that in itself is waste. Lots of it.
yeah. So I was thinking about
Yeah.
redoing the pool where you just skip the standalone T together, and you would hand out some sort of like O/T. And, you know, that comes into a whole nother architecture and trying to figure out how to deal with performance and distribution and all this stuff, because now you've lost some control. But then I thought, okay, so you're handing out the O/Ts to do work on your behalf, and then I thought, well, what the hell different is that than just the initial orchestrator set anyway, and just make the orchestrator like onboarding easier and increase it to 1,000 orchestrators, like, so because we have this arbitrary limit of 100 on, you know, so.
Well, semi-arbitrary. I mean, it does affect what the you know, the reserves and that you need to have.
To be honest with you, the pool is the area in which you can add the incentive layer for transcoders. Like, what you don't need to be bound then to the 100 orc limit. You know, in a pool, you can have as many of those transcoders connect up as you want, right? And then that's where you could start to handle that side of the economics, right? But we know how hard that is too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, these are all difficult things. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up the data traffic issue, because I actually just started to run some numbers, and it wasn't
Wasn't pretty.
It wasn't as pretty as I was hoping it would be. So I was like, okay, because, you know, I thought, oh, data transfer is such a minuscule part of such a heavy compute thing. Then it turns out like the heavy compute thing can hardly even pay for the data transfer, and I thought, uh-oh, that's a problem.
Well, think about it. That's the whole reason that we need to transcode in the first place, is because you're trying to reduce
Network
your network or your delivery
transmission.
I mean, that end, you know, obviously you need to be able to have stuff get to phones, or you know, that aren't on, you know, high-speed networks.
Scaling down,
but
but
yeah,
also
I mean,
it's
the
the
original
bandwidth controls.
And then I thought,
you got to squeeze the
CDN seems like the harder problem in this pipeline of things, right?
Well, I think that's where the CDN, in my opinion, is found. I think the CDN is where all these home computers and networks could actually be of value, right? If somehow all the pipeline of the infrastructure, you ingest the video, you send it for transcoding, and then you push it to, quote, the CDN. And if the CDN is just a whole bunch of home computers just serving each other, like peer-to-peer serving each other, you know, all the content they need, then your network, you know, transmission goes down significantly, and you're leveraging everyone else on the home network. I think that's where a lot of the true value. That's why I thought Media Foundation was like gonna rock the world with their DCDN, but like that thing sounds like it's a dead project now. So
I'd say they're still posting in Telegram. I don't know what that means, but
well,
it's pretty
I went
bad.
to look at their Discord the other day, and there was almost nothing posted in there. One of the last posts was, so are you guys going to get any kind of recovery from the FTX? Because I guess 95% of their tokens were caught up in the FTX scandal issue, whatever.
Was it?
So I think that, yeah. So
yeah, 95%. That's crazy.
And the response was something like, no new updates since the last time, and I think that was several months before. So I think they had a good concept, but yeah, things were not sounding real good when I looked a couple days ago. Let's see here. Yeah, due to the FTX Alameda bankruptcy, it has been widely reported that 93.5% of media SPL supply has been seized and locked in wallets. This happened during the media unlocking process on the FTX exchange, which has impacted our ability to reward early nodes. Current unlocked circulation supply is 650,000 media, or 6.5% distributed within 23,000 holders. This is from our latest blog post.
I think it's fair to say, sorry, Papa, I think it's fair to say there is a scarcity of tokens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, until those get unlocked. Yeah, it's until they get unlocked and they flood the market.
Well, in all of fairness, laughing at it, I have a friend who bought one sold BTC on FTX, so it's back to Solana. So he bought it at about $50,000, and it's worth 2.6K at the moment.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm still laughing at it. He had a pump last week, $3,000.
Yeah.
That's far cry from where he started.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, not only is it hard to build useful tech in this space, but then you also have to not get crushed by this other new tech that we're building on that we don't quite understand yet, or that the vast majority of people don't know how to use. So you have like 3 hurdles or 2 hurdles of just like learn how to use crypto, learn how to build technology on top of this crypto. So yeah, like many moving parts happening. Like I was looking at Pocket Network. I didn't like they have their own chain, and it's like not even like on the Cosmos SDK or anything. It's just straight up own chain built by. They don't even have a wallet extension. You just like download the key store off their server, and you're like, it's like I'm just so confused by it, and yeah. So it's like okay, they're doing something completely different, you know, and again, yeah, they're dealing with like similar issues of hyperinflation and like, well, they went through a weird hyperinflation phase and stuff, and so yeah, getting adoption for these networks and traffic and data, yeah, sense.
Remember those protocols. Like, think about TC or HTTP. Somebody trying to sell that on a marketplace. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's gonna buy a TCP packet or sell it or trade it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the things that like by themselves are meaningless or useless. But when you look at it in concert with all the building blocks that you have, you know, the problem today is we have crypto, which is just a bunch of Lego bricks without a pattern or a blueprint that says here's the Lego bricks to build a financial system. Here are the Lego bricks to build a social media platform. Here are the social bricks or the bricks to build the the video processing pipeline. Like, and again, it's not just transcoding, it's the delivery, the transcoding, the ingest, WebRTC in, WebRTC out, RTMP, like all the protocol conversions, all that stuff has to be done for you. And today you got to be an expert, an engineer to do that kind of stuff. And that's where, over the next 5-10 years, I'm hoping that it becomes easier to do those things. And if it's not, then this whole thing's just going to die. Can't have bricks without a pattern, a solution.
I think one of the good things that Livepeer did was charging ETH for the service. I think that's been I think it's overall going to be a really positive thing. So
yeah,
just attaches Livepeer to something a little more tangible that people can understand. That's not just some token with no liquidity. So yeah.
yes.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, we went on a bit of a side tangent there, but nonetheless,
That was good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'm not just like a pump and dumper. I'm not interested in hype trains. I'm pretty interested in like seeing things actually work and being realistic about it. And like, yeah. So if Livepeer wins and is successful, then it will be based on merit, hopefully, rather than just pumping. And lately the greed index has risen. We're up to 77 greed on the fear and greed index. So people are coming back in that were previously out, and you're getting some new spammers in chat, and there's more hype. So yeah, it's easy to get distracted by the noise. So hopefully we can continue.
We building here, man. We building.
On the topic of liquidity, I guess it's sort of liquidity based. There were 182,000 LPT unbonded today from an orchestrator. So keep an eye on the price.
Yeah, let's find out how much. We got like 55 million in volume a day with Livepeer. So that's like, it can hold some of that, but the 180 would definitely.
It's a pretty big unbond though. Just don't usually see it. I mean, that's we don't see those too often.
I think that would dump the price about 50 cents if they did it all. I think,
yeah, and in the past when there's been some big ones, they usually break it up from what I've seen.
Yeah,
liquidity has actually been pretty good on L2 for the last week or so for what it's worth. In fact, at one point it was actually higher on L2 than it was on L1, which I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I mean, LPT price was higher.
Very interesting.
Maybe that's a topic for another day. I don't want to open that can of worms, but I still don't understand the whole idea of like the grant to have like more liquidity. I think Doug keeps mentioning that in one of the ideas for the Delta payouts, like what would be a good grant. And he mentioned like being able to have more liquidity on, for the Livepeer tokens. And I'm not quite sure I understand who that's for and like where the benefit of that is. But again, not to open that up today, but maybe, next week we can start with that as a topic.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe that'll be a topic in the future, is how we can improve liquidity and things like that of the token itself. But yeah, in the meantime, keep building and keep shipping and try and build something useful. So, and
that's right, man.
Build something useful. I like it. Cool. Okay. Well, we'll end it there. Thanks everyone for coming to today's Water Cooler chat. Appreciate you all being here, building the world's open video infrastructure. And we'll see you all next week. Cheers.
All right. Thanks. Hey, guys.
Bye,
See you later.